Today we have a Focusrite Scarlett 8i6 third generation, and this is an audio accessory that's made to basically connect instruments to a computer so that you can import files. It's also, my understanding, it also has phantom power built in, so there are preamps inside of this thing. And the problem with this one is that the interface for the USB-C connector is damaged. I'll show you that here under the microscope in just a second. So as you can see, that's not looking too good. So we're going to have to replace this connector. And in order to do that, we need to get the board, the main board, out of this housing here. Now they've changed the design on these a few times. And from what I've seen on this one, we should have some screws beneath this front panel and beneath the back panel as well. And then we'll be able to get the board out. So my concern was whether or not we need to, I think we need to remove these knobs in order for that to come off. I think these just pull straight out. Yep, those will pop right off. Actually, I guess you can't really get it wrong because it's got a flat side on the knob here. So we don't have to worry about those being calibrated later on. And get our big monitor knob off. Okay, so I think that's it for those. Now the next thing is when you get these panels off, and I don't think that they require a whole lot of heat. I hope we've got enough light here on this thing. Yeah, you know what? If we get right underneath here, yeah, this comes right off. Don't think you're going to need any heat for this. Just want to make sure not to crack it. We'll go ahead and get this back panel off. Don't push it in too far. See if we can get a pry tool in here. Alright, just a little adhesive around the edges. And we'll set that one aside. Alright, so over here, we've got some screws. I'm not sure if all these need to come out. And then again, we've got the little washers that go around these pieces. So let's see which one of these we need to remove. So I think we're going to go ahead and proceed with the front, or excuse me, proceed with the back here and remove these 4 screws. I think I'm going to go on, there's the third one here, see if that's the same or not. I think this is going to be one of those pointed screws. Yeah, so that one's going to be different. That's going to have a pointy end on it. And then we've got 2 metal screws here. We'll see if these do us any good. Assembled. Alright, so these are going to turn. It's probably a better tool for this, but we can do it with a pair of tweezers. Wow, so we've got 8 of these to remove. Yikes. Alright. That's not too bad. Alright, so we've got those out. I think this panel should come off. I think this panel should come off at this point. Alright. And there we go. Here's our wire on the inside. So that is going to be unplugged right in here. Just need to get this and pull it straight up like that. And there we go. Alright, so now, that's interesting. We have some screws at the far end, but it looks like it is going to slide right out. And I don't think we really need to take this panel off, because what we're getting at is this little connector right here. So we should be able to get this under the microscope without pulling the front panel out. And I don't think that what we'll do is we'll put some leaded solder here on these footings and some on the inside. And then I may tape off these plastic pieces on either side of adjacent to the port, because I don't want the heat. Actually, we'll be heating this from the bottom, so I think those will be okay. So we're going to go ahead and add some leaded solder to the pins and to the footings, and hopefully that'll make this easy to remove with some hot air. We'll go ahead and get some flux, some leaded solder in here, let it flow through the board a bit, and then we'll flip it over. Not very straight. Alright, that should give us a nice, easy removal. Let's see if we've got anything to worry about collateral-wise on the backside. No, I think we're pretty safe. There's not really any components here that we have to worry about blowing off the board. So as long as we just focus on this area, it looks like this little plastic pin here melted just from the soldering iron, which is interesting. So that won't be an issue, but it shows you that this thing conducts. It's not like a game console. The heat travels here pretty quickly, so I think we will tape that off just to be safe. I'm really kind of surprised that would melt so easily being this far away from where we had the iron, but we don't want that to become a problem. And I think we'll come in with the air, with the temperature a little lower than normal. We can probably get this off with about 350. That's where I'm going to start. We'll see what happens. All right, I have got my airflow set to 70 liters per minute. And we've got the temperature at 350 C. Let's see if we can get this to come off. That's pretty close, but I'm going to raise it up to 360. I don't want to take too long with this. I have the heat spreading across the board. There we go. That looks better. Alright, 3/6 will do it. Go ahead and get this cleaned up. And we got a little bit of solder here that doesn't seem to want to come out. Might need a little more heat for that. I'm going to drop my hot air down. We don't need a lot. We'll put it on about 225. That'll add a little bit down here, make this easier. I think we're going to have to flip it over to get to that. Oh, did we get it? Yeah, we got it. There we go. Alright, those are clear. And let's get some lead, some solder on these pads. Wipe this down, and then I think we can get our port installed. And you can see we've got a tiny bit of a trace exposed right here, and then also a little scratch on the board. So I'm going to go ahead and put some solder mask on here. I would not expect that to be an issue, but we want to be safe. So we'll just touch those up. Let's get our new port. Oh, by the way, here's the old one. So that's what we removed. Port. And let's spin this around so we can see what we're doing. And now I can see why the factory didn't have the pads straight, because it just doesn't really align perfectly. It will work. You can actually bend these a little bit, but I don't want to go too crazy with it. Yeah, I think the legs are off a little bit on this thing. But in any case, you can see why it wasn't aligned properly from the factory. It's not the port, it's actually positioning on the board, I think. In any case, that'll do the trick. Alright, that'll work. Now, get a little extra solder on here. A little more, I should say. Alright, let's get our anchors in. And we don't want to stay on there too long. And looks like the solder did not quite make it all the way through. So give it a little more time. I just don't want to make that plastic get any worse. Alright, that's looking better. I think we're good, so I'm going to get this cleaned up. Look at that. These things melt super easy. Okay, let's go ahead and get this inside. Just like that. Let me zoom out a little bit. That might help. Alright, so we've got 4 screws that really hold this thing together. Those are in the corners, and then the one over here in the top. So let's start with those. Alright, we'll put the knobs on last so they don't get in the way, but we can go ahead and put this front bezel into position. And look at that, we didn't even lose our plastic wrap. Okay, make sure that's stuck down. And now, this will be the fun part, we need to plug in this piece. So there's only one direction it can go, really. And that's going to be with the blue wire on the inside, at least for me, and the gray wire towards the outside. You have to get it in there straight, of course, so you don't want to go in crooked. Once you do that, it'll snap right into position, just like that. Now, make sure the wire gets tucked inside. Set this down, and we can start putting the rest of our screws. I'm going to start with these, since they're so much fun. Anyways, there's 4 little dots here, and as far as I can tell, those need to face towards the unit, so this is the correct direction for this to go on, like that, so that those 4 dots are actually facing down. Alright, so once you get this to where it feels like it's grabbing, I would get it with your tweezers and just give it a little more of a push. Don't have to go crazy with it. These are plastic, so we don't want to damage them. And they don't need a whole lot of tension. Just enough to hold it on so it doesn't unwind. Yeah, that felt like it threaded crooked, so you want to make sure these do go on the threads properly, of course. Go ahead and put this cover back on. Get our knobs installed. And we should be ready to go.